Hey, good morning. I'm Patricia Murphy. It's Monday. This is Seattle Now. For decades, helicopters that transport kids to Seattle Children's Hospital were required to land a mile away in some cases and make the rest of the journey by ambulance. That's because residents of the Laurelhurst neighborhood were concerned about the noise. After a social media post reignited the controversy, the hospital and the neighborhood association have agreed to revisit the policy. Coming up, we'll talk with KUOW's Anna Boyko-Wyrock. But first, let's get you caught up. If you've got opinions about Sound Transit's funding crunch, head over to the Nordic Museum tonight. Councilmember Dan Strauss will hold a discussion on the future of light rail in Ballard alongside state officials and reps from Sound Transit. Strauss is also a Sound Transit board member and says he thinks the Ballard light rail extension needs to go ahead as planned. The agency's board of directors is expected to vote on a plan to adopt cost-cutting options by the end of the month. Tonight's meeting starts at 6. It started with no cars. Now the Urbanist reports the Pike Place Development Authority will be piloting a sip and stroll program this summer. On Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, starting May 22nd through Labor Day, select businesses will sell alcoholic beverages that can be carried around the market. The market says ID checks, wristbands, and easily identifiable containers will help keep everything in check. And state agriculture officials want people to keep an eye out for an invasive hornet species near Vancouver. A yellow-legged hornet was found there last week on a cargo ship that had sailed from South Korea. The hornets are a threat to honeybees and native to Southeast Asia. They're smaller but more aggressive than the giant hornets that state officials eradicated in 2024. That took 5 years. The Vancouver sighting is the first in the western U.S. We're back with more headlines on tonight's episode of Seattle Now. A story about Seattle Children's Hospital helicopter noise and the Laurelhurst neighborhood exploded on Reddit over the last few weeks. A longstanding policy has required some helicopters that were transporting sick kids to land a mile away rather than directly at the hospital.
We have 2 separate landing pads, one on the roof of our hospital and one about a mile away at the University of Washington playing fields.
That's Dr. Tony Woodward, Division Chief of Emergency Medicine at Seattle Children's Hospital.
The worst time for a transport patient is when they're transferring between vehicles. So we will take away that risk by landing all of our patients at the hospital.
The policy has been in place since the 90s, but has renewed attention thanks to social media. Helicopter noise was the problem, according to some neighbors. But on Friday, the hospital and the Laurelhurst Community Council announced the policy would be changed. KUOW reporter Anna Boyko-Wyrock has been following the story. Anna, thanks so much for taking the time.
You got it.
So we know that this has been a years-long issue between the hospital and Laurelhurst. Why is this happening now?
Well, step one was a post on X by somebody who said they were a helicopter pilot. That post then got picked up on Reddit in sort of a casual, today I learned sort of way. That prompted hundreds of angry comments. And then step 3 was local media, television stations, and The Stranger picked it up and ran with it. The story of how there's this long-standing agreement that routes medevaced children a mile away from the hospital.
Okay, now that is a lot of heat from social media. Let's talk about the actual policy. What was the agreement they had come to years ago? We're talking about landing in that field, Anna?
Okay, so this policy goes back to 1992. Discussions about it actually started in the 1980s. And it says that only the most critically ill patients in helicopters coming to Children's Hospital can actually land at the heliport at Children's Hospital. The others have to land at a site that is about a mile away in a field that is owned by the University of Washington, and then get transported to an ambulance, and then the ambulance takes them to Children's Hospital.
Anna, what is the role of Seattle Children's in transporting really sick kids?
Well, a lot of these children are coming in from Eastern Washington, the Olympic and Kitsap Peninsula, the San Juan Islands, and the majority are under 3 years old. And their most frequent conditions, according to children's data, are respiratory distress, seizure, asthma, exacerbation, and infection.
Okay. So these are intense cases of medical need here. How many flights are we talking about year to year, and has it increased over time?
So overall, the number of hospital visits has increased, but also within that, the number of helicopters landing at Children's has also increased, and it's gone up 75% actually over the past 10 years. So last year, there was about 150 landings, and then at the same time, 70-some were actually routed to the University of Washington field.
Okay. And what has been the concern for some people in Laurelhurst about these flights?
That they're loud. They're loud, that they're disruptive. And second, there are some safety concerns too. In the original agreement, it dictates a flight path to avoid the neighborhood. It dictates pilot training. Overall, it's concerns about the noise and also the safety.
Okay. What is the hospital asking for? What do they want to change?
Well, they want to be able to land all of the flights at Children's Hospital because they say if the child is sick enough to be in a helicopter coming to the hospital, then they should be able to land at the hospital itself. And also that piece of transitioning between different vehicles is actually quite a sensitive time for a patient that is already not doing very well. And it also imposes a burden on the medical staff who are making these decisions about whether to land at Children's or land in the field.
And the community council caught a lot of heat from the social media posts. What have they said about why they were willing to revisit this issue now, all these years later?
They haven't said why or what they want exactly in a new agreement, but in a statement from their spokesperson, it says, "We're happy to continue working closely with Seattle Children's and value the care provided by this long-standing institution."
Okay. All right. What now, Anna, is the city's role in all of this?
Well, it sort of depends on what kind of application Children's actually files to change this permit. And there's a quasi-judicial process now that has to take place that involves multiple city bodies, potentially involving the city council. It all sort of depends, but it's going to be a little bureaucratic and messy now.
Okay. As I understand it, med flights are still going to be landing off of Seattle Children's campus right now because nothing has really changed. What does happen next? What are you going to be watching for?
So I'm going to be watching for the application to basically land use officials that Children's submits. And if the Laurelhurst Community Council has any stipulations that they're going to put on that, or any pushback from them, and then how quickly the changes will work their way through the city gears to approval.
Yeah. Really interesting. KUOW reporter Anna Boyko-Wyrock, really appreciate you reporting on this. Thank you.
You got it.
Thanks for listening to Seattle Now, and thank you to our generous donors for your financial support. It really makes a difference. Take a moment to rate or even share the show with a friend. Today's episode was produced by Jenny Cecil Moore. It was edited by Andy Hurst. Our production team also includes Caroline Chamberlain Gomez, Vaughn Jones, Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers, and Paige Browning. Greg Kramer does our theme music. Seattle Now and KUOW Public Radio are members of the NPR network. I'm Patricia Murphy. Talk to you tonight for Evening Headlines.